so much for that awesome video. It was kind of circulated around the office, and we had developers commenting in the activity stream on Podio saying, this is why I work at Podio. These guys made a video of the whole delegation, and all these people like just cheering and doing cool stuff. And I'm so happy. And by the way, I'm really, really happy to be here today, looking at all these smart, beautiful, young people building the future of work, hopefully. I'm going to top the last speaker by actually tweeting a photo. Are you there? Done. Okay. So how many people in here know exactly what they're doing in the future? I'm not talking about tomorrow, next month, next year, in 2 years. I'm talking about like 5, 10 years. How many people in here know exactly what they're doing? Not a lot. I think Lauren talked about it this morning. We don't really know. How many people in here want to start their own company? Some. How many people in here want to join a company? Some. You're all liars, but that's okay because you told me that you didn't know what you were doing in 5 years, but you all know that you're starting a company and or joining a company. That's all cool because that's exactly how I felt and always felt. You don't know what is going to happen. And I think coming to terms with that is important. Right? And I'm going to tell you that I didn't know, but I did succeed, at least if you follow business school logic. I did succeed, and I did go to business school actually. You know, I started out age 30, might be different than you, but I did go to business school, and I did learn some. But what I really learned was not in school. I started Podio with the co-founder to change the way people work, to really change and empower people to work in a smarter way, a more transparent and democratic way. And we succeeded. A couple of months back we sold Podio at a, let's not talk about numbers, but quite a some billions of dollars. That's success, right? Or is it? So I want to talk about, you know, my own personal experience doing that. And that's why I have all these notes on the stage, because last night I was challenged to change my presentation from a boring, this is how we did it, to a very personal story from that. So that kind of PowerPoint went out in the brain. And today I'm going to talk about 4 things that I learned. One is about risk. The other one is about being different, or being authentic. The third one is about being global, like really global. And the fourth one is about being generous. Those are the 4 things that I want to cover. And to start with risk. I'm a musician. I play music for most of my life. I did from producing, writing songs, playing music live, being with acts all over Denmark, where I'm from. And you know, music industry is really the most competitive and the most liberal industry in the world. It's worse than any startup situation. You have no clue what you're doing next month. You have no pay, no salary, no employers. So this is a very good place to start if you want to try risk and uncertainty. Just go into, maybe any type of entertainment industry. So that's kind of my starting point. I've been there all the time before I started Podio. Another thing is traveling. I traveled a lot. I traveled mostly to places that no one else wanted to travel to. That has to do with risk and uncertainty as well. I traveled around Iran. Anyone from Iran in here? Woo! I traveled around Syria, not recently. I sailed across the Atlantic Ocean on a sailboat, and I sailed across the Pacific Ocean on a sailboat. Why do you do things like that? Or why do I do things like that? I do that to come back and tell stories. You know, tell stories that no one else tells. I'm not going to Thailand, PB Island, or whatever, and tell the same stories that everyone else tells. Right? So you want to do some risky stuff, or I wanted to do some risky stuff to tell cool stories. Right? And I wanted to tell cool stories when I started Podio as well. I don't want to tell a dull story about here's an IT, it solves this and this and that, the customer needs blah, blah, blah. No, we wanted to tell a real compelling story, a crazy story, right? So that's kind of what kind of got me into this. And why is this crazy? Because the ambition of Podio was so crazy. Two guys in the basement saying that they would outcompete Microsoft or Google or whoever else thinks that they own this category of work out there, Outlook, and so on. But we said that. We believed in it. Only a few people did. Like Thomas in the front row here. When you're in a situation like that, and if you're starting a company and have a few guys in here want to do that, it's really not risk, because it's not more risky to do a startup than to join a company. Everything can fail, but it feels more risky. So it's the aversion to fear. It's actually, you want to reduce the feeling of fear or uncertainty or risk. That's what you want to reduce. It's not really that it's dangerous or anything. And I have a couple of tips for that. One of them is to work with the smartest people in the world. It's pretty easy for ISACers because you just hire one another and do that stuff. Right? We saw that earlier. So find the smartest people in the world, not the smartest people around the block, but actually the smartest people in the world. Work with those guys. Because if you trust those guys, and they are really the smartest guys, and they believe in it, then you're true stupid people, right? And that's very good. Then you don't carry the whole burden if it's wrong. Then the third one is make that into a family, make that into a friendship. And I know a lot of people say like, oh, you should mix friendship and business, and that's bullshit. You should. And I think all ISACers know, because when I meet ISACers, that's sort of what you do. It's not just a work relation, it's a work relation and then some. And I think that is part of reducing that feeling of risk if you start a business. So don't start it alone. The second part I wanted to talk about is authenticity, actually. Or more easily, just being you. Right? We are all unique. We all want to belong to something. We all want to be the same, but we're not. And I encourage people, and I think that's what I've been doing all along with Podio, is to actually be who I am. So in Podio, we actually built our company culture around my personality, as well as my co-founder's personality, and Casper will join later, personality, which is pretty rock and roll, right? There is no hipster stuff, and there is no corporate stuff. It's really rock and roll. That's what we like, right? People who join the company can easily recognize that. But it's not hard for them to recognize. This was actually a company where they could be whoever they wanted to be, because the founders were there. Another thing that we had encountered that was really authentic around us is that we hate IT. Right? IT is hurting people every day. You know, IT is built to solve someone else's problem, not mine. Right? Services and tools like Facebook. I don't consider that IT. Why is that? It is IT sort of on the back side. There's a lot of IT in Facebook, but we don't consider it IT. We hate IT, but we love social tools. We like Twitter, we like Instagram, we like Facebook, we like all these tools, but we hate SharePoint. I wanted to talk a little bit about global, because I bet that everyone in here thinks that they think they're very global, because we have 110 countries in here, all cultures mixed up. But I want to challenge it sometime. In Podio, we solved a global problem, which was broken tools for work. We also had a global market, in that we were not focusing on any particular market need when we started out. But we also did global recruiting from day one, which sounds pretty crazy when you're 2 or 3 guys in the basement to kind of think like that. We want to hire a guy from Malaysia. We want to hire a guy from Silicon Valley. But that was how we thought from the beginning. And I think if you both look at the problem you solve and the market you address and the people you want to work with from a global perspective, not from a local perspective, then you're truly global. And that's the reason why in Podio we have 27 employees in our headquarters in Copenhagen. We had 15 nationalities that relocated, for the most part, to join the business in Copenhagen. And then you go like, what is an IT company doing in Copenhagen? Why are you not in Silicon Valley? There's a couple of other reasons for that that I'd like to talk about. Is that if you're doing a technology startup, don't get fooled by Silicon Valley. There's tons of need and problems and smart people out there, especially in the EU world that I know about. People can move freely. And if you have a cool story to tell, that you want to change something that really matters, and you're authentic, as I talked about before, you can get them to either work for you in the business or move to whatever city you're in. Right? You don't have to go to Silicon Valley to compete with Facebook or Twitter that are just pumping up wages and making people lazy. Right? You can do it here in Moscow, you can do it in Tokyo, you can do it in Copenhagen. I think Podia is actually proof of that. There's another cool thing about it is that the talent pool in Asia and in Europe for attracting people is huge. And the EU makes it pretty easy within the EU to actually have people move around. And as far as I know, at least in Copenhagen, we are the only ones who actually took advantage of that as a startup and had everyone join from 15 different countries. The last thing that I wanted to touch on was generosity. And this is maybe the most applicable thing if you're starting a company that you will get wrong, at least I do. Because you start out, with generosity is a positive thing in your family with your friends. In business it's different. We go to these schools and then they tell us we just want to maximize our own profits. That's what people are about. So when we do business, we have a different set of morals than when we are with friends. When we are with friends, it's cool to be generous. When we do business, we have to maximize our own profit. And that was the situation I was in when I founded Podio. I had a co-founder. He didn't have any money. I put in a little bit of money to start out with. So I had all the shares. So at some point, I owned all the shares, or almost all the shares of Podio. But my challenge was that I needed to get this guy, my co-founder, to do something, right? But I didn't want to give him the shares because I put in the money. How do I make him do anything? I was talking to a friend who's running like a restaurant chain, a small restaurant chain, like 3-4 restaurants in Copenhagen, not a tech guy. And he said, give him half. I was like, you have to be crazy. Should I give him half? This idea, I want to kind of execute on this idea, and I put in some money. You go like, yeah, but you've got nothing, right? Ideas are useless. That funnel is useless, you told just before. It's execution. It's execution when you start something. That's what matters, right? And you don't get people to execute if you're not generous with ownership. It's really important, because most people start in the opposite corner. They start like, I had this idea, I even put in $100,000 or whatever, so I need to own all, and then the other guys should work for free or what? Oh, you're going to motivate people. So co-ownership, the way to go, and be generous around that. And tied to this execution bit is also that you need to share your idea. That's the most common, apart from the ownership part, the most common mistake I see, and that I also was a bit worried about myself, is that you don't want to go out there and talk to everyone about your idea, because then they steal it. And I can tell you this, they won't, because most of the ideas are worthless. And they are very busy, the guys you're talking to, because they're the best people in the world, so they don't have the time to copy your idea. So just get out there and tell people about your idea. Don't tell them half the story, tell them the full story about your idea, because that's the only way you will get qualified feedback, right? Qualified feedback is if you share the full idea and not half. We did that with Podio. We ran workshops every week with hundreds of people before we even launched the product. Everyone could see what we were doing. Before the product was even available, people could come inspire us at a workshop and see what we were doing if they wanted to. And surprised no one did copy it. And it turned out to be a good idea, so that was not the reason. The reason was that they were busy doing other things. And we could get their input for half an hour, 1 hour or so. So, what do you want to change? I'd say go out and execute it tomorrow, don't wait. Be generous when you do it. share your ownership with the people that are the smartest in the world, that will help you not feel lost or not feel that everything is at risk because you know they're smart and you know they have half. And do that in a global market with a global team, and make sure to be yourself and authentic when you do it, because that pays off, because you don't have to play any games later on. You can just be you. Thank you.
So I'd like to sit down for a few minutes, John.
Yes.
We just met last night, another good best friend now. Changing business in the way that we're talking about requires 180 degrees thinking. And giving away half of your shares, people would say you must be mad. Giving away all your intellectual property to people you would previously call your competitors must be mad. But this is the type of thinking that is really transforming our planet right now. So I'm interested to hear any feedback for John, any questions or comments for John. We have some microphones. There's one up here. We get a microphone across. Please tell us your name.
Hello, I'm Pamela and I belong to IC Rwanda. I was trying to use Podio within the last recent days and few weeks also for IC discussions, but honestly I had difficulties of really getting used to it and really finding out, the core sense of it. So what would you suggest that, how should I start using it?
Okay, that kind of person. Yes, I will talk to you in 5 minutes. But I'd say, we have a very, very cool user engagement team that are talking to our users, and will answer you within 10 minutes if you click that button and you have questions about, how to start or whatever. I'd say we have around 100 videos showing different ways of using Podio, and I would definitely go with an app that matches your work processes. So if you're doing marketing or a sales campaign, or if you're doing recruiting, I would find an app that does that with the Podio app. So that would be the way I would start. But you can take it there offline if you want more details.
Okay, so we're going to talk afterwards.
Yes, let's do that.
Wonderful. Okay, is there a question at the back here? Oh, you have a microphone already.
There is a question from Hugo Pereira. There is a virtual delegate, and he wants to know what are the key business principles you believe any young person should keep in mind when starting their business idea.
Okay. So I'll repeat, what should any young person keep in mind when they're starting their business?
The principles.
So, second.
Exactly, the principles.
The business principles young people should keep in mind when starting a new business.
So that was what I was trying to cover in the past 70 minutes. I think I really think that you should think about what global means, that it's not just a global market, it's also a global team. And it's a global demand. And it's a global problem. And I think there is a lot of global problems out there. Take politics. I mean, try to fix those, the big ones, instead of, Denmark's lack of supply in whatever, water or something. Then look at the lack of supply in the world. Yes? There's one up there.
And there's one down here as well.
Oh,
okay.
Hello, I'm Ivan from Austria. I would like to ask it, since we were trying to find out as a new comic something which is new and new to market, to increase all of our needs and to improve all of our processes, we came out to Podio 4 or 5 months ago, and since then we're just using this. No emails, nothing else. This helped us a lot in every single process. So I want to ask, how did you came to the idea? Because we are such a supporters, all of our LC members, we're just talking about, even on the IC here, I'm just talking about Podio for that 5 minutes.
Thanks a lot. those kind words. So we actually had that conversation this morning, Phil and I as well, how do you come up with the idea? And the idea is pretty radical, but I do think it's the execution still. I was still part of the execution. If you look at products like Lotus Notes, the early VisiCalc, the early spreadsheets, they had one thing in common, was that they empowered the end user to make changes in data structures. That's kind of the geeky way of saying it. But actually structured data, everyone can fire up an Excel sheet, put in columns, arrange their wedding, run $1 million project, whatever. That's the power that the end user feels, rather than having an IT corporate system being implemented half a year from now. They can do everything in Excel. So we looked at that. And that is the main inspiration. Obviously, all the social tools out there, the Twitters and Flickrs and YouTubes and Facebooks of the world are big inspiration. So combining business processes that are built from the ground, not by the IT department, but from the people using the tool, combining that with social, transparency and activity stream and commenting and so on, that was kind of the idea that we came up with in the base. And it has been refined ever since. But don't get fooled by this, because it's the execution still. It's the timing, it's the marketing, it's the storytelling, it's the people that you get on your team, it's the share of the ownership that makes people work crazy hours. That's what makes it a success. I wouldn't focus too much on the idea.
Yeah.
You can easily dismiss the bad ideas. That's not how. Been done, failed, out, But actually, when you pick the one that you feel so full power.
We have time for 2 more questions. Now, I'll encourage questions that to do with entrepreneurship and the principles of business rather than Podio's products themselves, please.
Hi, I'm Daniel from ISEG UK, and I have a question to you. You said that you had an idea to deliver good user experience, but at the same time you hate it or don't really like IT. Now, I also have some good ideas what to do online, and I believe there are more people like me who can think of some good service to deliver online, but we do not really have any IT background, which is kind of the crucial thing you need to build something online, right? So I'm looking for an advice how to overcome this obstacle.
Yeah. So get online, share your idea like I talked before. You don't get people to join your idea if you don't tell about it, if you're not passionate about it. You need to get out there and then tell your story. I want to do this, I want to change this, I want to turn this industry upside down, I want to disrupt this. And then people create a pull effect if you start talking about your idea. Obviously you can post on job boards and all that stuff, but actually start talking like it within the ISEG community, start talking about your idea and see if you can collect people around it. But I do really encourage everyone that doesn't have an IT background to get into this, because we need people that can think in service, added value, user experience to change the tools, for the future of work and even for the future of private life.
Okay, we have time for 1 more. But John's going to be around today as well, so if you've got specific questions, you can come. But let's take one up here. What's your name?
Hi, I am Aldo. I am from Mexico. Nice to meet you, John. I use Folio every day. It's awesome for the last 6 months. So my question is regarding the moment when Citrix comes to you and your co-founder and says, "Here's a bucket load of money." Like, I guess that's when you must have felt, wow. I don't know if it was the case, but I would like to know about the decision-making process you had to go through with your partner, if selling or not, and what did it involve? Because it must have been awesome.
A beer in the beach in Santa Barbara with Tommy Ahlers, who was acting CEO at the time. So that was basically where we kind of settled. Then obviously there was a board and other investors. There was also an institutional investor on board. So there was more people that had to kind of say yes. But obviously the founders and some people joined and also invested a bit of money, and CEO needed to be on board this idea, because otherwise Citrix was not into buying Podio, the technology, they were not into buying Podio, the talent, they were into getting both and the brain. So we needed everyone to be in on this deal. So this was a deal that would only work if everyone was in on it. Why was everyone in on it? Because Citrix want to do exactly what we want to do. They want to build a platform that empowers end users to get their work done in a better way. They're very focused on end users bypassing all these, middlemen in IT and consultants and so on, and actually have people build their own tool. And that was what Citrix said to us, we were not for sale, it's no secret. We didn't approach, we were not out there saying, buy us, buy us. We were building a healthy business and we were talking, building up our revenues, our user numbers. Those were the two only goals we had when Citrix came along. But their interest and their strategy, and you see as Folio users, you know that nothing really changed after the acquisition. We actually just, improve the product much faster because that's what they want. They want to maintain the Folio brand and the platform that we been building for 4 years. So I think that was the reason. Like, I wouldn't do either a talent acquisition or only sell the technology and just, throw away the team. I wouldn't throw away the brand either because that's 8 years ago. But obviously it was a group of people who made this decision.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You can ask me questions on my email, frodo.com, or on Twitter as well. I'm not too active, but I'll see if I can answer you if you ask me on Twitter. Otherwise, just come to me. I am open also to hear your ideas if they're really, 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 really good.
All right, one more time. Thank you.